White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio A of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can read his work at allchgo.com. He has 2 articles up, one for everyone about Chris Getz's free agency and what to look forward to this offseason, but then also for the diehards out there, we have some Andrew Benintendi talk as he approaches the White Sox lead for 2024 in home runs. Him and the other Andrew chasing Paul DeYoung at 18. You can follow him at Vinnie Duber, man in the middle, Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at EctorWall23 as our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson, being produced today by Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We got a ton of content coming out, whether it's Bears. We had 2 post-game shows last night after the 19-13 loss against the Texans. We got shows on the Blackhawks, Bulls, Cubs, Sox, etc. Fire, Red Stars, Sky. We have a Big Ten show. Am I missing anything else? I think we have a Sting show. And the soccer team, not
singer.
the wrestler.
The singer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought we were talking about the wrestler.
Wow.
I was talking about the...
One word, 3 different definitions right there. How about that?
Les Grobstein was alive, he would be hosting CHGO Sting. I was there. Anyways, on today's podcast...
Carl Granite. I forgot his last name. But
You're about
Kevin
to
pull a
his
name.
CHGO Sting player out of your
Yeah.
Roxanne!
Granita was one of the best soccer players of all time. I was there at the Rosemont Horizon.
We'll be talking today about the White Sox being active in free agency. There was a clip from Foul Territory that I'm excited to bring up and talk about. But then there was also the comment on Friday from Chris Getz saying that they're not looking to be active this offseason, that the players internally will likely have to make growth. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Yoan Moncada being activated off the IL. He's back. Corey Julks gets sent down to AAA, so pour one out for Sam Guterman, who I think is the only person that owns a Corey Julks jersey. If you own a Corey Julks jersey, let me know.
I mean, Corey Julks.
I'm about to say Corey Julks.
Okay. But like,
Probably.
he's the only one that owns a Keenan Middleton jersey, but he might own also a Corey Julks jersey soon. And then we'll wrap up with some diehard questions.
Just collecting every African-American that's betting on the White Sox ever.
I don't know if it's like
that is that like a couple coffee with the White Sox.
I think it's just, coincidence that both of them are black men.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you're going to get a Brian Goodwin jersey next year?
Hey, he doesn't have a Groot Santos or even a Prelander Baroa one.
Hey, Chucky Robinson's on the team right now.
Doesn't own a Josh Harrison one.
Yeah.
We brought up.
Get to go and Sam Guterman.
I mean, Brian Ramos is Cuban, but, still Afro.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
Billy Hamilton.
Billy Hamilton.
Damn right.
Now we're just naming black people, which isn't bad. Herb Lawrence. There
I
you
am.
go.
Currently.
Herb's the only one with a Herb Lawrence jersey, though.
Ever.
Yeah, and it's got the name on his back. Are we going to win tonight?
Damn right. Come on now.
All right. We got Odyssey.
We do.
Do they have any injuries? I know they were...
Cody Westerlin.
Okay.
Former
that sucks.
shortstop and former... no, he's still an NBA guy there. He's a good shortstop, but he's hurt.
Yeah. And a good guy. We like Corey.
Quality
I was
guy.
going to call him Corey.
Quality individual.
Cody
Westerlin.
All right. But there was also a piece from Bob Nightingale, the man who has, all the insight into the White Sox organization. And he talked about the White Sox looking to cut payroll. The exact quote in his Around the Bases section in his USA Today piece was, the Chicago White Sox, who should break baseball's all-time record of 120 losses this week, plan to cut payroll in 2025 after sustaining substantial losses in revenue during this horrific season. Bob Nightingale has the White Sox getting swept in all the Angels and Padres games. But besides that, is this surprising to hear this from Bob, especially after Getz's comments on Friday?
No, not really. I mean, I think, listen, the whole thing about the stuff that Chris Getz said, and now you've got Bob adding a little bit more, to it. No one should be surprised. This is a team in year 2 of a rebuild. This is a team that's about to lose the most games in modern baseball history, even if it doesn't end up happening this week in Southern California. But with where they are right now, why would they be going out and making big moves in free agency? I mean, other than you think they should, if you're a Chicago White Sox fan. But if you're following the context of where Chris Getz's rebuilding project is right now, that really shouldn't come as a surprise. They're not trying necessarily to be competitive in the AL Central next year, right? This
Correct.
is a long-term thing. When you're in a rebuild, you basically spend a few years spinning your wheels at the major league level in order for progress to be made at the minor league level. And that is where the White Sox are right now. They're still in a position where we're talking about what sort of talent can they bring into the minor league system, right? Where trade rumors are going to be flying all winter long about Garrett Crochet and Luis Robert Jr., and you shouldn't expect them to get major league players back in return in those trades, right? Those are probably deals that are going to bring minor league players into the organization, just like you saw, albeit to a somewhat surprisingly small degree at the trade deadline with what Chris Getz was able to get in some of those trades that sent big league players out of Chicago. So I don't think anybody should be surprised by this. Now, should you be upset? Sure. Be upset that they're rebuilding at all. Be upset that any major league team is rebuilding at all when they could just take their bad roster and go make it better by spending money in free agency. But they could even go after Juan Soto. They could even go after Corbin Burns or name any of the other top guys on the free agent market this winter.
Rowdy Tellez.
Sure. Willie Adames. And what is it? Who's supposed to get just a gigantic payday, by the way? Willie Adames.
I'd love if he was our shortstop.
Secretly, kind of secretly, one of the best players in baseball, Willie Adames.
People don't know that the Brewers exist.
That's wild.
Like, the Brewers have, I think, consistently, probably over the past, 10 years, have been, I think, a top 5 baseball team.
They're the NL Rays.
Yeah.
We're not going to take that from the Brewers, Sean. Calm down.
Yeah, we're not going to take that from the Brewers.
They're not that good.
Thank you, John Schriffen.
My point being that they could go sign 2, 3, 4 of those guys. And what position are they in? Are they capable of competing in the American League Central? I don't think so with the roster that they have. Even if you were to add 4 all-star level players on that to it, it's not where they are right now. And it's a shame if you're a White Sox fan, because you'd like to see them be in a spot where they could go out, or they would go out and spend money and make the roster markedly better with the intent of competing at the major league level. But when you're in to a rebuild the way they already are, right? They're not just thinking about doing it. They're in it, and they've been in it for a year now. They're going to be staying the course on this thing with the intention of, hey, 2-3 years down the road, you're going to start to see perennial contention. That's the idea. Perennial contention, because we sacrificed those seasons at the major league level. And so I don't think anyone should be shocked by hearing what Chris Getz says. And I guess the Bob stuff goes hand in hand. It doesn't necessarily always have to, but I guess you could argue what would be the point of spending marginally on a team that isn't going to do anything when you could be saving that money for down the road when you need to add a free agent to a group of young players. Again, that's not really something I would necessarily argue, but it is the reality of where they are right now.
Vinny set that up perfectly. He said exactly what you need to hear. The White Sox should be paring down payroll. They are the worst team in baseball history. But as a White Sox fan, I have a different perspective as far as why are they doing this at this point? Because they are having $65 million on the books before arbitration hits for any of the players for next year. So that's Luis Robert as the big part of that. Andrew Benintendi is a big part of that. And Garrett Crochet is maybe $4 or $5 million. He's not even counting on that because he hasn't hit arbitration. But you're going to get rid of him and more than likely Luis Robert. So some more money being taken off of that $65 million. And if you're not building through the free agent market, and we already see where the White Sox are as far as players that they have developed homegrown talent, they're not there at all right now as far as how you build a roster in Major League Baseball, because their drafts have been a crapshoot, especially with the prospects on the position player side. They haven't hit. What guy can you look at the actual Major League roster and say, that's a success? That was a homegrown talent person that we drafted, cultivated. Now he's in the major leagues, and he's going up.
Garrett Crochet.
He's a you said position player.
Sorry, position player.
Yeah.
my bad.
Well, I take it back.
All right,
because Crochet's one. He counts.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because
I was trying to be as positive as I possibly can.
On the 40
Can I get one example?
I'm just not even going globally as far as the whole Major League Baseball. I'm just staying right in the AL Central as far as homegrown talent on the 40-man roster currently on those teams. The Royals have 18. Tigers have 19. Twins have 21. The Guardians have 22. Any guesses of how many homegrown talent? These are not free agents. They're not international free agents. These are guys drafted by the White Sox and are on the 40-man currently out of their 40-man.
White Sox draftees on the 40-man roster.
Currently.
Less than 10.
Okay.
Sean?
Well, then less than 7.
You guys are a little low on the White Sox, but they're 13.
Okay.
Everybody else is way up in the high teens or 20s. And the White Sox, the one way you can do as a rebuilding team to get better quickly is having homegrown talent actually come through and make a difference. They just fired their international scout, so obviously they believe that he wasn't doing a good job there. So even that is not doing and producing major league talent as we've seen before with the Abreu's and Luis Roberts in the past. So I don't know how they're going to get talent in here if you're not spending money on free agency and you're not hitting on the players that you're drafting. So that's the only reason why I'll be like, you should spend some money on free agency. Don't go hog wild. I would love Soto. Everybody would. But we know that's not going to happen. We know that the people the Adameses of the world, they won't happen. It'll be somewhere in the $7-8 million gamble on some guy that is had past success and probably be a pitcher and see if he can be good for the first half and get traded eventually. Those are the type of guys that the White Sox will bring in. And if they bring in like 7 or 8 of those guys, that's much better than the talent they have on the team right now.
So that's what they did last winter, right? It was Paul DeYoung and Martin Maldonado and Chris Flexen. The Eric Fetty was the more exciting version of that, right? But it was all those guys, and you can count trade acquisition like Nicky Lopez, that kind of thing. And that produced this roster. Granted, a lot of those guys were traded for not much, but they were traded. I would be surprised to even see that degree of free agent activity this winter, the way they're talking about things right now, right? Because I think at this point you can look around the diamond and say, all right, well, at least that guy can go out and play, right? I mean, at least Miguel Vargas and Brian Ramos and Dominic Fletcher can go out and man the positions. They don't need to. They're not in the situation where they were last year, where they declined the option on Tim Anderson and they just don't have a shortstop, and they need to go sign Paul DeYoung in order to have a shortstop. They need to go sign Martin Maldonado in order to have 2 catchers on the major league roster. I don't know if they need to do those types of things this year. Which is kind of grim, because these are the players who are sitting here losing all these games at the end of the worst season ever. I don't know if you're going to see much effort in the offseason to improve the major league roster, other than just you wait until Colson Montgomery gets here, just you wait until Edgar Quero gets here, and that's something, right? That would be progress, and that would not only be progress in terms of maybe making the major league team immediately better, but progress in terms of the big picture here, right? But I don't know if you've got the GM of the team coming out in September, and I would argue for a second that it's kind of refreshing to hear that level of honesty right off the bat, even if it's not making anybody happy. But if you got the GM of the team coming out with 3 weeks left in the season saying, yeah, we're not going to do much in free agency, that wouldn't lead me to believe that there's going to be a lot of quote-unquote upgrades made to the major league team, because there were a lot of those last year, right? Upgrades in a technicality, right? Because somebody's better than nothing. Yeah. But the things that they tried to improve, none of it worked. Very little of it worked, with with the exception of Eric Fetty or a guy here, a guy there.
I just want to jump in. Fetty, Flexen, DeYoung, Maldonado, Bravia. Am I missing any other major? Tim Hill. How much did Tim Hill get? Was it
just in and out?
I just want to be exactly
major league free agents.
1.8. Okay, so if that's forever, hold your peace on any other major league free agents. Kevin Pillar was I think
there were a lot of minor league ones. Mike Clevenger, does he count?
Yeah. No, because he was. I'm talking offseason.
Okay,
because I wouldn't count him and Pham, because
Pham was minor league. Clevenger was major league.
And they were trying to get, the steal on it. So there was one thing brought up by Bree Graholi. I can never say her name.
Graholi, yeah.
Thank you. Of The Athletic today on Foul Territory, of the White Sox should have the offseason like the Royals just had. You lost 100 games, but go out and spend money. It felt like Getz, if he was going to do something like that, it was the last offseason. And like you mentioned, they just didn't go fully in. they kind of did it with those players like Fetty, DeYoung, Maldonado, etc. But the Royals spent $109 million on those players. The White Sox spent $22 million on theirs. So that's the thing, is they just didn't do it properly, because coming off a 38-35 season for Robert, hitting 38 homers and 35 doubles, like that's when you go in on your franchise player who you already have the extension with.
And you could argue that hope existed in some form, whether you think so or not. Within the White Sox front office, there was hope perhaps in some form for Moncada and Jimenez and Vaughn, which, obviously maybe didn't play, and even Benintendi you can throw in there. That's half a lineup right there.
And the Royals are different than the White Sox. You look at their roster right now, only like Tommy Pham and Adam Frazier are not like either international free agent signings like Salvador Perez or drafted. So they've
Paul
done
DeYoung.
I mean, he's not really playing that much, but yes, Paul DeYoung. But like for the most part, they have a solid foundation of players, and then they need to go and get those starting pitchers like Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo to round out that good rotation.
Well, and that's the thing with the Sox is I feel pretty good on their ability to develop pitching. We'll take a break, but like they don't have to spend, I think, free agent-wise, whether it be relievers or starters, on pitching. I think maybe keeping some of the players that they have, like Crochet, would be accepted, but overall, it's the position player side that they struggle with. Let's talk about our friends over at Chevy. If you're in the market for a bigger vehicle, find savings to match at Ray Chevrolet this September, because truck and SUV month is going on now. Head in today to shop their huge selection of new Chevy models at new low prices. Right now, take $3,000 up to $12,000 off MSRP on most new Chevy models, or cruise into your fall your own way and shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. As one of the top selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll be able to shop Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Visit our partner this September at their location on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. And if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you've also heard of Ray's Price Promise. They're guaranteed to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever, with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. That means incredible prices. The incredible prices that we're talking to you about now, you can expect to see the very same when you shop at Ray Chevy in-store or online. So shop truck and SUV month all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive.
With Empire Today, you get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have those copycats, those pesky copycats. But Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, or speed, so competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire simply won't carry. Empire won't promise the lowest prices, because anyone who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. Empire's philosophy is to help you find what you need, not to overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect styles. Go over and check out Empire's Virtual Floor Designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code CHGO. Restrictions do apply. See empire.com/CHGO for all of the relevant details. 588-2300 Empire.
Wow.
Jesus.
We shouldn't be singing anymore.
Yeah.
Damn, Vinny's out
I
here.
caught you off guard.
I
I caught you off guard with starting the singing, and so I wanted to get it over with as quickly as possible. So I needed to change the style a little bit.
Belt.
Vinny can carry a tune.
Shit. All right.
We ain't singing anymore, Sean.
I'm taken aback, honestly. All right. Hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. There is some talk in the chat, and Michael Harkins brings it up. Until Jerry passes, we are doomed. So, we can take that side, but, at least let's try to have some thought of a discussion, because, Michael, you're right. We're stuck in baseball hell. So, this is a team that, it's so surprising that they are at this record or approaching this record, not even the loss record, but even the run differential record. It is surprising that they've had this fate, and I think if they had gone out and maybe spent a little bit more and even been competitive with the Royals, or maybe even they wouldn't even been in the same market because the Royals spent most of their money on pitching.
Yep.
Maybe you go out and get a Matt Chapman, and I know that he plays third base, but maybe Moncada can play DH, or maybe they brought up Moncada playing second base and right field and first base in the offseason, right? Like, I mean, maybe if you went out and just spent a little bit more, they wouldn't be at this spot, because even that team, out the gate maybe wins, 8 out of 21 instead of 3 out of 22. So I don't know. I just feel like if they were going to go in, if they were going to spend money, it should have been last offseason. And now you might just have back-to-back seasons where you set the loss record because you're trying to figure this all out. So it does feel mishandled by Chris Getz. I would say it's mostly a failure, though, on the owner, because that's the guy who's running the show.
I think this is a long-term thing, right? I mean, Chris Getz took over basically to start a new rebuild, right? And so, I mean, you're basically saying, boy, they really should have gone out and spent it so they didn't have the most losses ever. But then they still have 110 losses. And what does that mean?
Rebuild last year.
No, I know what he was
I don't think
saying.
they were truthful with themselves, and it was
I think they were truthful with themselves. They maybe weren't being very revealing to everybody else. I mean, listen, we talked about this last offseason. The reason they weren't saying rebuild, in my opinion, is because all the fans just saw the last rebuild not go where it was supposed to go. They lost 101 games last year. And so if you say rebuild again, everybody's going to be like, they're doing it again. Oh my God. But guess what? You can't keep that secret for long when you strip it all down to the bottom and bring in a bunch of prospects. You're rebuilding. They're rebuilding. And now they're willing to talk about it, I guess, out loud, right? So yeah, it was very silly that they wouldn't just say that, because obviously that's what they were doing. But I think I'm going to continue to harp on, as we go here the next week or however long it's going to take them to hit this record, that for the big picture, the fact that they're losing 120 games is not dramatically different than had they lost 105 games, other than it's going to grab a ton of headlines. It's going to be the subject of a ton of bad press for them. It's going to be embarrassing. But in the grand scheme of what Chris Getz is trying to do, I really don't think it changes anything in terms of where they're going with this long-term project.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be embarrassing. That's it. And it seems like Chris is way past the part of lamenting this season and how bad it's been, which a general manager should be. When you're talking about him and the rest of the team not wanting to use the revamp or rebuild the word, and I get you, and that's truth. But that was another relic from the old regime, where they're kind of lying to you by omission. And what you said that Chris Getz said on Friday, that's the refreshing part, where he's just telling you the truth. We're not spending money, which is what White Sox fans want. Even if that truth is not what we like, truth is better than eventually knowing that you were doing this all the time, the rebuild was happening all the time, and you were just not wanting to say the words. I hope he goes in the same vein of being brutally honest with the fans. And when he talks to the media and say, hey man, we're at a bad spot, but we got hope for the future, and this is what we're doing. Even though you don't like it, this is what we believe that we're doing, and have a plan that they believe in, but tell the fans. Don't have to tell everything and not to telegraph everything, but be honest with us. We can see what you're doing. And the fact that you said it on Friday that, hey, we're not spending money on free agency. We all knew it, but it's good to see and refreshing to see that you're saying it out loud.
And at least to your point too, Vinny, about, they just came off 100 losses, and you don't want to think of the last rebuild, but this is already worse than the last rebuild.
Well, it hasn't ended yet, so we don't know if that's going to be the case.
Well, I'm not saying the final product of the rebuild will be worse or better. I'm just saying this actual start
at this stage in the last one, people were very excited for the future.
Yes,
they knew that it was going to be a little far off, but they were very excited for the future because of the prospects that were brought in the trades.
The possibility of seeing something at the end of the tunnel.
Right. First season of rebuild one was what?
2018, okay. 95 losses.
So 18 and 19 were really the only two rebuild
19 was 100 losses.
17 was part of that too, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. 17 was year one.
So, so 17
95 and 17, 100 losses in 18, 89 losses in 2019.
Mm-hmm. And then
that's not even that bad.
No.
Like, I mean, I don't even know. Like, this is just I just want to put in perspective that they are going to have 3 seasons that are much worse than the first rebuild. Like, rebuild 1 looks a lot easier and like digestible than rebuild 2. Rebuild 2 looks like a swear mountain.
Yes. I think also Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams were given better players for rebuild 1, and I think Rick Hahn was a better general manager than what Chris Getz is, because he had, a nice ramp up to then when he took over in 12, at the end of 12. So he already knew how to be a general manager, knew the talent in the room, knew the people around the league and what he wanted as far as a team to rebuild as the White Sox. It's going to be damn near impossible for Chris Getz to get, firstly, value. Like that Garrett Crochet thing, I think, is the thing that he has to go in the offseason and say, this is where I get the majority of the players that our rebuild is going to have come from this trade, because Luis Robert, his name is good. The contract is awesome, but the player this year, friends, I don't know if you're going to get anything back that's like, we're going to build on this player that we got back from the Luis Robert trade, unless it's a 1-for-1 and you're getting a Luis Robert trade for a high prospect on another team, because that team needs a center fielder with cost control like Luis Robert, and that other player just can't get on the roster.
At least to bring in Eric's question, because I think that goes along with it. He says they can't bring back the same team, right?
Why not?
Well, yeah, that's my thought. Like, out of the roster right now, who will not be on this team next year? Robert and Crochet will put asterisks by, because it seems like if they get the right deal, they trade them. But
absolutely, but I agree with Herb. I think Robert is probably going to be on this team on opening day, just because he's had, quite frankly, a terrible year.
Yep.
Right. So Chucky Robinson is probably like the only position player I would say for sure is getting the boot.
For sure, I would say that there are candidates to be non-tendered. Nicky Lopez might be one of them. He's a guy who's making over $4 million, I think. If they're looking to trim payroll, that's a way to do it. And then you've got the questions, at least, about Andrew Vaughn and Gavin Sheets. I think.
Do you feel like they're questions?
They are. I think they're questions. Well, I don't know how likely that would be. I would probably lean toward them both being back, to be honest with you. But I don't. But they are questions, and Vaughn in particular is making a little bit more money too. So
we talked yesterday before you joined about Steve Stone's comment of Gavin needing more playing time, and we kind of scoffed at the idea. But out of the positions that he's played, the least this year has been first base. Do you think, or has there been any word from Grady that they might want to look more of Gavin being a first baseman, because we've seen a little bit of a stretch of him pop? I know, I laughed at it too. He
is a first baseman.
He has like a weighted runs created plus of 149 when he is a first baseman, and he's bad when he's not a first baseman. Like, is there a commitment to making him a first baseman?
Again, it depends on what their commitment is to Andrew Vaughn, right? I think this is a guy who obviously, because he was taken with the 3rd pick in the draft, you can say that they've invested in him. I don't necessarily mean money as much as I do time and that very valuable opportunity of that number 3 pick. But, do you hang on to him one more year and hope, hey, hopefully he has a great 3 months and we can trade him at the trade deadline? Because I think you're at the point where he's probably not the long-term future here. But the same is true of Gavin Sheets. Gavin Sheets was drafted a year before, 2 years before, right? Andrew Vaughn was. He was the 2nd-round pick the year they took Berger in the 1st round. So that's 2 years before?
That sounds right.
So,
17?
Yeah, they're about the same in terms of major league service time, but I think,
17.
Yeah, but if you're going to keep both of them, you better play both of them, I guess, because you're probably trying to trade them, right? Yep. But here's the thing: if they are so committed to bringing the costs down, we've seen them target guys last offseason that were $1 million salary. That's about as low as you can get with a free agent on a major league deal. If they're committed to doing that, guys like Lopez and Vaughn are guys making multiple millions of dollars, and that's at least a way to save a few bucks, relatively speaking, if you're a Major League Baseball team.
Exactly, and that's the way where I would non-tender Gavin and keep Vaughn, because yes, he hasn't hit his pinnacle, but Vinny just said it perfectly. You've already invested a 3rd-round pick in him, and third overall pick, sorry. And you're thinking there's got to be that player in there. he has to be in there. You've seen flashes from time to time in this year where he just becomes locked in. The last, 9 games? He's been coming locked in, even though the power is not there. And maybe you're trying to just say, hey, just one more time. Because I would say a non-tender for Vaughn, I would not like that at all, even though he hasn't hit the potential that he is supposed to hit this far. I'm, like you, done with Gavin Sheets, not because the player is, the person's bad or anything like that. Just he has a limiting factor. He is what he has been. And I don't see more after that. He's hit his ceiling. And I think Vaughn hasn't hit his ceiling, even though this might be it.
Yeah, I think Vaughn has hit his ceiling. And I really don't care too much about their prospects coming up, but it seems like we're stuck with them. Over those past 10 games, Vaughn's hitting 375, 405, 550. That's in 40 at-bats, but we also can look back at last month. He had an 0 for 25 stretch, too. So there's the peaks with the valleys. So, I mean, at least there are some peaks because, most of the White Sox hitters have not even had a peak this season. So there you go. We're going to take a break. And at least service time that you brought up, 2.075 for Gavin. Andrew's at a complete 3. So I don't know if that means
spent a good deal of time in the minor leagues even after he made his debut.
So he'll be making that second year ARB money, Vaughn, right? So it'll be going up. Making more money.
I'm not an agent, Herb, but I do know that you're supposed to tell us about Prize Picks.
All right, I will tell you about Prize Picks because it's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community. You can now win up to 100 times your money with Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And I know, folks, you're looking at Caleb Williams like, man, this man's not playing well at all. But with Prize Picks, all you need Caleb Williams to do, throw from 1 yard. One singular passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. I've done it both the weeks that he's played, and he has won each of the times, even though he hasn't thrown for a lot. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. And Prize Pick is available in all and more than 30 states and across the country, including California, Texas, Georgia, and right here in the great state of Illinois. And my go-to Prize Picks at the moment is points, rebounds, and assists for Caitlin Clark because she's been on a streak since the Olympic break. And then you can parlay that with the Sunday games that Caleb Williams plays. Baby, money in your pocket. Download the app today and use the code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Thank you, Herb. And we also want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is here to elevate your summer. They're your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit for Chicago folks. I don't love going to Wrigleyville, and going to Elmwood Park is a little out there, but it's nice. It's pleasant.
Get a nice beef sandwich.
Yeah, get a nice beef sandwich. Yeah. There's some lovely forests over there. Go walk with the trees, if you know what I'm saying. Stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco or FloraCal. Go check out their great selection by visiting sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify for 50% off your first 3 online purchases with promo code HICHGO. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
And for that guy, who is it, Victor Van Doom, he asked if they're paying Liam Hendricks. I looked on the resource. I think they're still paying that $15 million off. That you decline the option and he still gets paid. It says that they owe him $1.5 million next year.
Yeah, remember he had that strange option where the buyout was equal to the year's salary and it was spread over 10 years.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So he was going to make $15 million no matter what.
Correct.
Either he was on the White Sox or not. And so he's just Bobby Bonilla every year.
For the next 9 years?
After this one, yeah, this was the first.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. Well,
yeah.
then I'm sorry to put no in there.
Yeah.
My bad. All right. Let's move into the news of the day. Yoan Moncada has been activated off the injured list. Corey Julks has been sent down to AAA. I was wondering what the corresponding move was. You brought up Miguel Vargas. Maybe he would possibly go down to Charlotte. Maybe there was a lingering issue or injury for somebody that would have, opened up a roster space for Moncada. I don't hate Corey Julks being sent down to AAA. I'm fine with it. I guess what's most surprising is no Yoan Moncada in the lineup tonight.
Yeah, that is most surprising. They at this time of year, you have the 2 extra roster spots. Obviously, the White Sox are a team that is losing at a pace that no one has ever seen before. They had a lot of extra position players. The question was less so the roster spot, more so the playing time, and that question wasn't answered by the roster move. So you look to the lineup, as Grady Sizemore has not spoken to the media yet tonight to talk about what the playing time might shake out being. Yoan Moncada is not in the lineup. Usually when your everyday player, your regular, returns from the injured list, he's healthy enough to resume his role as the everyday player. And here he is, first day back, and he's sitting on the bench. So don't want to make too much of it. We'll see what Grady Sizemore has to say. I'm not going to just dive into guessing as to what they might do with him, but it is indeed surprising that the lineup contains Miguel Vargas at third base, Brian Ramos, a designated hitter, and Yoan Moncada nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it was pleasantly surprised when I saw that lineup being announced because I thought that he's getting activated. They're going to put him right back into the lineup for those 12 games. That is awesome to see. A great start by the White Sox, understanding that, yeah, you can be on the Major League roster. Doesn't mean we have to play you. And we'll have to have these young players who we have in our future getting all this playing time at the end of the year. And I hope it continues. I hope it's not just a one-off because, Reed Detmers is pitching and you don't want to have Yoan Moncada batting right-handed against him, et cetera, et cetera. Just sit on that bench. Maybe get a pinch hit every once in a while if you want to come in, or a defensive replacement at the end of the game. But other than that, enjoy some baseball, Yoan Moncada. Have a great seat in Anaheim. Have a great seat in San Diego.
Well, if this is the case, though, what is Yoan Moncada doing just not staying in recovery mode, right?
Flights.
Well,
buses.
The rehab, they would have to make up a new injury to keep him on the rehab
They
assignment.
can just say he has the same injury still.
I guess.
Because remember, they've been saying for months now that he has been medically healthy, physically healthy. And so what they have reported is that he has told them, I don't feel comfortable enough to go. And then he did. And they sent him on the rehab assignment. He was there for the maximum allotted time. And if the White Sox are going to say, sure, welcome back, we'll bring you off the injured list, you're never going to play. Why would you do that then? If you're Yoan Moncada? I don't know. It's a question.
I think from the Clevenger thing, when he was doing his rehab assignments, because he was totally coming back, I think that I read up that you can't go or re-up because of the same issue, and that's why he had a different issue when he extended his rehab time before he was fully shut down. Right. So I think that's why, or if it was the same issue, he has to go back on the IL. So,
sure, but there's a week left in the minor league season. He's not going to be getting another rehab assignment.
I agree. That's why I'd rather see him in right field than Zach DeLoach, because Chris Getz once said in the offseason, hey, second base or right field. So let's see. If he's healthy and ready to play, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see Miguel Vargas at third base and Brian Ramos more. So, let's put him at second. Let's put him at first, right field.
I guess my point at the end of the day is if you're Yoan Moncada, the reason you come back for the last 12 games of the season is because you want a job next year.
Yes.
You're not going to have one with the White Sox, or at least you're not going to have one at the via the contract option, right? A minor league contract would not be out of the question, but a major league one might. This is a guy who has barely played the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. Who is going to go out there and say, yeah, absolutely, let's make that guy our third baseman? You don't know if he's going to be able to stay on the field. So if you're Yoan Moncada, even if you only have 12 games in which to prove it, you want to go out there and show and audition for these teams and say, look at me, I'm still Yoan Moncada. I can still swing the bat well. I can still hit you a couple home runs, or at the bare minimum, play really good defense over at third base, and I can move around and be healthy. So why would you, I guess, agree to come back if you know that they're not going to play you?
I agree, and I think, again, we saw the issues already with him and Chris Getz, or at least Chris Getz saying he's healthy, but Moncada didn't feel healthy. I don't think Moncada wanted to come back.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. Is that too wrong to assume? It seems like he didn't feel healthy enough, or at least trusted what the White Sox were saying in their medical report of his health.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying I'm willing to give the guy the benefit of the doubt and believe that when he says I don't feel comfortable pushing my body to this level without fear of re-injuring myself, I'm willing to believe that, right? So then why is all of this continued the way that it's continued, though? I mean, there's 12 games left in the season.
I mean, I guess the White Sox can just say, hey, Yohan, you're brought back up to the major leagues, and you said you weren't feeling that healthy. So, hey, man, that bench could be yours. You could be healing on that bench all these last 12 games. We don't want to injure you. You're about to go into free agency, Cat. So the last thing you want to do is make sure that you have security and you're going to have a nice free agency. So sit that ass on the bench and enjoy yourself. And it is Yohan Moncada's prerogative to feel the way he feels. I believe that he's telling the truth, that he didn't feel the way he needed to feel. And then White Sox are like, you're probably good to go, man. Come on, let's go. But he's probably also like, why am I rushing back to get to his team that's losing 120 plus games?
I think it's that. And you know that you're going to get a big buyout. So it's going to lessen the blow of maybe I don't get the major league contract that I want, but I'll be able to be cheap and probably go wherever I'd like to go. I mean, I understand that he might not be paid to be a starting third baseman, but at least from the past 2 seasons with a minimum of 300 plate appearances, he's got 100 weighted runs created plus, plays decent defense, worth 1.4 WAR. I think that's like what top. He's like a top 30 third baseman in Major League Baseball. Like the issue is, can he be healthy? But I mean, if they're signing Paul DeJong to a $1.75 million major league contract, I would like Yohan Moncada to play for a $1.75 million contract. Maybe not because they have Brian Ramos there and Miguel Vargas. Maybe not for our team, but if I'm the Rockies or whoever, like
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. Like I'd sign him and have him be
not
a major
third,
leaguer.
Though.
Huh?
Not a third for Pittsburgh. They already got one.
Right, but like, whoever has a third base spot open. I mean, I don't think the Yankees have a third baseman, right?
Oh, they're not going to get Yohan Moncada.
Why not?
They already got a hell of injuries on their team.
They've already got a whole ton of former White Sox. That whole bullpen is former White Sox.
Tim Hill
much.
looks great.
Oh, my God.
Tim Hill, Ian Hamilton, Tommy Kahnle.
Oh, my God.
Who else is? There's like 2 more that I can't even think of right now.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. That Yankee roster is flush with former White Sox. Obviously, they have Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, that's why the Braves are struggling. Even though their White Sox are performing at a high level with the Chris Sales and the Ronaldo Lopez's of the world, they're struggling.
Jake Cousins.
Oh,
Jake Cousins, there you go. They've got 2 guys that were on the White Sox this year.
Yes.
Doing well, probably.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jake Cousins has been good. Was Cousins ever officially, or was he just on the spring training? I don't think he ever officially made it to. Oh, Duke Ellis is also on the team.
Oh, goddamn.
They have so many former White Sox.
I don't think this is Kevin Smith. This is Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for them to win a championship with that many former White Sox, even though they're playing well. The curse is out there.
Now I want to say, Nick Birdie?
No, that's his brother.
That's
Okay.
Birdie. Yeah, Zach never. I don't think Zach ever played
Zach
for the
got
White
hurt
Sox.
again.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yes. Real quick, a cup of coffee.
He looked all right, and then I think he got hurt. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, the Moncada thing it doesn't make sense. I would like to see something from him. Hopefully he doesn't just sit on the bench and waste a roster spot because, again, at that point, just DFA him if he's just not going to be willing to play or you're not willing to play him.
I think there's something to him being on the team until the end of the year. You're going to have to pay him anyways, like for this, him going away, his option year. So maybe it's just easier, less paperwork. If he just finishes off the year, you decline the option, you pay him money instead of DFAing him 12 games before the season ends.
Has Kopech been bad?
No,
He's been amazing.
No,
what is White Sox Tom
absolute-
talking about? Kopech isn't looking that good.
No,
either.
he's been
With his
absolutely amazing.
424 ERA
That
plus.
could be sarcastic.
I hope it was
guess,
because
maybe.
the other day, yes, he did walk the bases loaded. I think it was versus the Cubs or something like that.
Yeah, 3 walks.
And then he's like, okay, I'm out of this inning. Yeah. And then the other day, I think it was second and third, Kopech struck out a bunch of people to get out of the Dodgers out of that system.
He's the closer on the best team in the National League.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
He's given up 2 earned runs.
He's absolutely ridiculous out there.
That makes me sick.
Like he's the
lowered
next
his
level.
ERA from 4.74 to 3.59.
I'm telling you, it may not even be just the adjustments. It's the environment. Yeah. Getting out to L.A., getting to a pennant race, as Eloy said, be good to have some meaningful games in September. I'm sure that elevates the mind and the mental and everything that you see on the field. That's what we've been waiting for Michael Kopech. I'm glad the person's getting that. I'm sad the person didn't do that here with the White Sox.
And Dave Roberts has been running that ship forever. It's probably real easy to step into that locker room than Pedro Grifol, who was figuring it out. And also, shout out to Sam, who owns the Keenan Middleton jersey. He mentioned this, and I never really thought of this. Who was Luis Robert Jr.'s manager in 2020?
Rick Renneria.
Who was his manager in 2021?
Tony La Russa.
Was his manager for 2022 always Tony La Russa?
No. Miguel Cairo at the end of the year.
Manager in 2023?
Pedro Grifol.
And who's his manager now?
Grady Sizemore.
So he's had a new manager every single year.
Who will be his manager on opening day next year?
So, I mean,
someone different.
I just to cut Luis some slack. He's also, I think, had 3 hitting coaches.
He's also not the only person that applies to.
Right.
This entire team has gone through that.
True.
And that is as good a fact as any to show why things are the way they are.
Technically, Moncada has not played for Sizemore. If he sits on the bench for the next 12 games, it will not apply to you.
He does today. He's active.
Yeah, but
he's going through pre-game warm-ups.
Yeah. Never played a game under him. So, and I think, 3 hitting coaches? There's probably one in 2020, right? Who was it
Steverson?
There's been 3 in 3 years.
But who was the
it was
2020 hitting coach? Was it
Menachino?
Was it
I think it was Menachino or Steverson. But I think it was Menachino. And then they switched to the guy last year. Who was that?
Jose Castro.
Yeah, friends. And now Marcus Timms.
It was Menachino 2020, 2021, Menachino as well, and then 2022, 2023, 2024, all new. So, just lack of consistency.
But also, we've already gone to discuss that. So they really listen to hitting coaches.
Well, and he has his own personal guy, but still, I mean, just I'm not going to bag him too much for this end, just because I really wonder what it's like to play on this terrible organization or this bad of a season and really just be a part of this.
He's part of it. You don't have to have a bad season. He didn't have one last year. Neither did
team was better though.
Yeah, neither did Bobby Witt Jr. He didn't have a bad season even though the Royals were bad.
That's true. All right, let's go to the questions. If you want to become a diehard, you can check out allchgo.com/diehard. Not only do you get to join the CHGO Lounge, where you can ask us questions and chat with other White Sox fans alike. There's a ton of different channels where you can talk to Bears fans, Blackhawks fans, Bulls fans, etc. You also get a free shirt of your choice when you sign up. You get 20% off merch. You get 20% off events. It's a great deal, so go check out allchgo.com/diehard. We have 2 questions today. Let's start with our guy Ian. First off, our guy Ian said, the question is, if we paid some of his wages, because Ian is British, is Benintendi a tradable asset now?
His wages.
Remember,
baseball players are employees, folks.
Yes. His $15 million a year. Vinny, I know you just wrote a piece about Benintendi and the power surge that we've been seeing in the second half. Is there anything specific that he's credited to this surge?
My guess would be health. My guess would be sticking to it. From talking to him all year, he never really talked about doing anything differently. It's been very much what everybody's been saying about the team and the wins and losses, which is you just show up, you keep doing your work, hopefully it'll turn around kind of thing. Indeed, baseball has plenty of history of being like that, where guys who have had success don't for an extended period of time, and then they just start having success again. It kind of just comes back to them a little bit. Not that they've forgotten how to do it, but that the success kind of lines up with the work that they've been doing. I think the thing that is very interesting is, last year, the story with Benintendi, only 5 home runs. Oh my goodness. When is he going to hit for more power? He's got 17 right now, and he might end up leading the team. Of course, it's ridiculous that he might end up leading the team with whatever it ends up being. 19 it would have to be in order to top Paul DeJong, who hasn't been here in 2 months. But the idea with Benintendi is that he's probably not going anywhere. Now, Ian's question, they could probably find a way to get rid of him, but it might cost them an awful lot, right? Mm-hmm. There's a whole heck of a lot left on that contract. 3 years of a $75 million 5-year deal. That's a lot of money to pay in one go, right? It's a lot of money to pay to make somebody go away, and the more likely scenario might be, Sean, kind of something that you've been bringing up a lot, which is, could they find some other bad contract to bring back? But again, why, right? Why is paying that player to be not effective for a last place team any different than paying Andrew Benintendi to be not effective for a last place team? So I don't see him going anywhere, but it's certainly not impossible if they decide they want to eat that money and make it easier for another team to say, yeah, we'll take a flyer.
Be really hard for the White Sox to trade his contract off because of what Vinny just said. He's owed a bunch of money, still 3 years left on that contract. And we already said the White Sox are paring down payroll. I would think they're not going to want to give a team money to have Andrew Benintendi be on their team and then pick up some more money from the guy they're going to be receiving back or guys they're going to be receiving back.
And forget just the money. Who out there right now wants to acquire Andrew Benintendi and the production or lack thereof that he's had in a White Sox uniform for a guaranteed 3 years?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the thing, too, is that, like, you're not just, even if you say, hey, we'll eat a significant percentage of this money and you're getting this guy at a quote-unquote discount, they still have to have him for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And, like,
it's a long time commitment in addition to just the money.
I know he's looked really nice his second half of the season, but the numbers overall for this season are still poor. He's still a poor left fielder. There's a lot there that's missing for Andrew Benintendi. His bat has come around, and if somebody sees that and says, okay, I get that, like a team that has already had him, Boston, New York, or the Royals, like, hey, that would be our plug. That'd be great if we had that type of bat in our lineup. But otherwise, I couldn't see a team like, oh, yeah, I want to trade for Andrew Benintendi because he's got second-half power. He's 17 home runs are enticing.
Well, Sarah, can you clip this and then send this to bcashman@yankees.com? What ballpark over the past 4 seasons would Andrew Benintendi have 2 20-home run seasons in?
Well, going by the context clues, I'll say Yankee Stadium.
You're a genius. 23 in 2021 and 20 in 2024. What happened in 2022 when the Yankees tried to acquire Andrew Benintendi?
They were successful. They did acquire him.
Oh, they did. Yeah. But then he got hurt, right?
Bad,
and then he didn't get to live out his dream, being in the pinstripe. There is some exciting parts about Andrew Benintendi, especially in the second half, worth 0.7 F4. Hello, that would lead the White Sox for the season. He's probably just looking for them to erase the first half stats for, that to look real nice. But you look at the pull percentage, 40% pull percent and 25% hard hit percent in the first half. So 40% pull, 25% hard hit. In the second half, 53.2% pull, so up 13%, and his hard hit rate is now 37.4%, so 12% increase. Maybe there is something there. Maybe someone who has liked him before would talk themselves into Andrew Benintendi. And at least for the Yankees, I've brought this up before, so that's really the only reason why I'm going to that. Sarah, if you could flash those 2 graphics, the first one of the Yankees and White Sox swap, the other one, please. Giancarlo Stanton is the name that comes to my mind. Can you go to the other one, please, Sarah? So Benny would go to New York. He's worth $49.3 million for the rest of his contract. Stanton's runs linear with 3 years remaining in both. Stanton's worth a little bit more, so if the White Sox aren't spending and they're possibly cutting back, even to the amount of cutting Nicky Lopez, poor Nicky, Naperville Nicky, for $4 million, maybe they do take on a little bit of money to try to flesh out the prospect system. There's an 18-year-old in their system, Francisco Villaro. Maybe they take a shot at our outfielder who could possibly grow into his body and become a power hitter. Clayton Beeter, maybe that's a player that, because he's a starter, Brian Bannister makes a few changes, and that's a guy that they can bring in because they're getting somebody that can play the outfield, unlike Stanton, and maybe because of the environment them being in, he could possibly provide some pop. Like 20 homers isn't bad. I don't know what Stanton's at right now, but he's probably under 30 just because his lack of playing time. Benintendi's been somewhat healthy with the Sox, not crazy, but he had the Achilles issue, but
he's played.
Yeah, I think 140 in both seasons at least.
Yeah.
So, there you go. And then the thought would be not to keep Stanton for the White Sox. You go flip that, Sarah. Braylor Guerrero and Gary Gill Hill.
That's a great name.
Yes, it does. Those are 2 prospects in the Rays system. The White Sox would just be eating all of that money. So it would be the White Sox eating, I think, about $16 million total.
For 4 prospects.
For 4 prospects, which, You're not spending the money. So if you're looking to at least just play young players who will be a part of the future, that would be this thought process. Because right now, you can't put Brian Ramos in left field or Miguel Vargas in left field because you have the $75 million man in Andrew Benintendi. He doesn't really fit with a rebuild. So that would be the thought, to get him out of town. I don't think he's been impressive enough in the second half for a team to want him, but that would be the thought, is really only Stanton is making maybe more of an egregious contract right now for the next 3 years.
Hey, I like you trying and wish casting out there to get Andrew Benintendi on another team, but that's a lot. I don't think the Yankees are going to do that. And I know that you were, just trying to get something even, and so the White Sox can come up big, but I think you take Stanton out and put those two guys you just put in there, and that would be the trade, because they're probably going to lose Verdugo this year to free agency, and that would be a nice bet.
The Yankees would take on – why would the Yankees take on that contract and give up 2 prospects?
Maybe they like him. Maybe, like you said, he'll hit a bunch of home runs, and he plays every single day.
You got to do him a favor, man.
Yeah,
this guy sucks.
But they're the Yankees, though. They don't care about.
Sucks.
They don't care about $66 million. And Stanton's at 25 home runs in 105 games this year. So when he does play, he puts bat to ball and crushes. So I think that's just a lot for the Yankees to accept. I think they would just downshift and say, "Hey, we'll take him, but you get these lottery tickets instead of our player that we could just trade to Tampa Bay by ourselves and do that same deal."
I guess. I mean, the thought though is you get a major league player that would actually play left field and has shown being healthy. All right, let's go to the next question. Benintendi to over the last 2 years, 277 games from Berg 7F9, the first time Berg is written in. What are you allowed to wear into guaranteed rate field in terms of shirts that say sell the team or sell? I would say that the answer is nothing, because they aren't letting fans wear a shirt that quotes Chris Getz' comment, like, I don't like our team. I remember seeing Fire Nagy shirts at Soldier Field a few years back. I'm primarily a Rockies fan and wore a sell the team shirt last year in Coors Field, and no Escher gave me grief for that. I think that one picture that I did run with, so I'll take some accountability here. I don't know if that was the exact truth. I know they ended up sneaking in those shirts, but I think that was because there was recently a massive banner that was snuck in that said sell the team. So maybe that usher was being a little bit aware of things that were critiquing or harsh of the team. But I think for the most part, there aren't that many stories of people being denied entry because of what they're wearing. So I would say for the most part, there isn't much of an issue of expressing yourself at guaranteed rate field. You're not allowed to have 15 feet by 25 foot banners that say sell the team Jerry, unless you sneak it in. But, for the most part, you could wear what you want. And there was that one story from our guy Jack that, he was declined, but
they still got in the ballpark and they had the shirts on. So just put a jersey over it. They won't see it. So that's your solution. You want to have something derogatory towards Jerry or to the team? Put a jersey over it, and then open up that jersey, and you're ready to go.
Wear it inside out. All right, hit the thumbs up button if you haven't yet. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. That is going to wrap it up for today's show. We have a show tomorrow with Wayne Randazzo.
The Dazzler.
The Dazzler. So we'll be excited to talk to Wayne.
St. Charles' finest.
Yes, the play-by-play guy for the Angels. So it should be fun to talk to Wayne. We will also recap tonight's game and see if Yohan Moncada is playing in tonight's game as a pinch hitter or maybe in tomorrow's game. That's Vinnie Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. That's Herb Lawrence, our CHGO White Sox community leader. I'm Sean Anderson. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.